Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my gear talks where we talk about the cameras I use and what I recommend, what the pluses and minuses are of these different cameras. So today I'm going to talk about my absolute favorite 4x5 camera. It's a Wista DX. It is small, it's lightweight. It folds up really nicely. It has this great little feature, whereas when you pull this up, it automatically locks into the 90-degree position because it's got a stop built into this rail on the back. Then when you lift the front, it does the same thing where it actually stops at the 90-degree mark. And this camera, I'll set up real quickly, is, to me, a real joy to use. Because what I do is I'll typically leave this in my front seat when I go out to shoot 4x5. And I'll have some film holders, and I'll have my light meter and my loop so I can check focus. But this is really lightweight, and it's got a handle. It makes it easy to walk up to somebody and say, hey, can I photograph you with this? And of all the 4x5s that I've used, and I've used a handful, this one is lightweight, it's quick and easy to focus, to use the focus here. Can you see that? You can just move this forward and back once you set up, and then you can fine-tune focus with here. And obviously you can change lenses out on 4x5. I like this with a 150. It's a Schneider G Claron f9 that is what I bought it with. And I just like it with that lens. And I like the fact that it stays on the camera when it folds up, so I don't have to carry it separately and install it every time. And it's rather lightweight. I have a auto quick release bracket from a Bogan tripod on it that I keep on it, and I have a Bogan tripod in the back of my car, and I can quick pop that up and then just snap this on and it's ready to go. And the Bogan tripod is not a real heavy duty tripod. It's like a medium quality with a grip head, easy quick ball head, and for me, because the camera is so light, that works out okay for me. And I use a cable release with it. I think that it's important for me to stop down, get good depth of field, make sure the focus is critically checked and right. And the fact that it has a handle makes it really handy, because some of them don't. And it makes it more difficult to handle. But I can pop this right onto the tripod. And of all the 4x5s that I've used, the one thing I notice about this camera is this spring right here is rather light. It doesn't feel like a lot of tension to open that. And when I open that, I can put the film in, and it seems like the film goes in very easily and it doesn't bump the camera. I have an issue with other cameras where that spring tension is much tighter, and for me, every time I go to put the film in, the whole camera bumps over. And I don't want that to happen. I want the camera to be locked down. And it is locked down. But the tension on that back piece is so high. This one I can do it with one hand. I don't know if you can see that. I can do it with one hand because the tension is so light. And I like that. I want it to be something that you can easily put the film in and not bump the whole camera and lose your frame. Right? What's the point of shooting a very precision camera where you have some control? It's the Wista DX. There was also a DX Roman numeral 2, which I guess is a later version. And this has everything from, the one I think I use a lot is rise. I typically will set up the camera and then I'll figure out how high I want the frame to be. That's the one thing I use more than anything else. It also has tilt, it also has swing, and Again, it even has backswing. But again, I'm not using a whole lot of movements. Remember, I'm a documentary guy. I'm not a landscape guy. So if you have seen my 4x4x5 project, it was mostly shot with this. And to me, this is the camera that if you want to shoot with 4x5, these are like $3,000 new, but you can find them online from between $700 and $900 used, and used is perfectly fine. It's a wooden box with a bellows. If anything, watch out for the bellows to make sure. You can see the bellows on this one are a little crinkled, and that's because the person who folded it didn't fold it up in a way that they were not crinkled. And once they got the crinkle in them, they stayed that way. But now I just fold them up the way that they want to go, which is crinkled, and it works fine. But someday those are going to need to be replaced if they start blocking the view of the camera when I'm making a photograph. But so far that hasn't happened. And if you can find deals, they're out there. I found this at a local yard sale, and because the bellows were not in great shape, that made it affordable. And then again, the film holders, you have to pick up a few accessories. I did the whole 4x5 project with just 4 sheets of film and 2 film holders, and that's enough. I wasn't going out to shoot 100 frames. I wanted to shoot 4 frames, and I made them happen with 4 separate photo shoots because I'm not trying to shoot a lot of anything. I just want to shoot 1 frame of somebody. So when you're using this camera, the other beauty of using any kind of a large format camera is you set up the camera, you have control over perspective with swings and tilts, but you also, if you're photographing people, once the film is in the back of the camera and is blocking the ground glass and you can no longer see through it, it's at that point that you go to a cable release and all you can do is look at the person and say, okay, let's connect to the camera, but you're with them. You're able to talk to them directly, not with a box in front of you, not with a camera blocking their vision of you. So now you can watch them, and you can watch for their expression, you can watch for them blinking, and it really gives you a different way of working. And I think people respond to a portrait made with this differently than they do if you have a DSLR up or another film camera which is between you and them. So if you're looking for a camera, 4x5, this would be my top recommendation. And I'll go into some other cameras in future episodes that aren't my favorite, and for what reasons, why not. But if you're looking for one that is the one that is my go-to, it's the Wista DX. And I have a 150 Schneider G Claron lens that I like a lot. It's an f9, so some people might say, oh, it's not that bright to focus with, but it seems perfectly bright to me, so I like it. And again, if you say, why did you choose it? It's because it was the one that was on there, and it was a deal. That's the way to get the good equipment, is to wait for it to come into your sphere of opportunity, and then don't pay too much. Spend more money on film. I'll tell you a little bit about film. I've been using this Berger Pancro 400, the whole series that I shot, 4x4x5, except for a few frames, were made with this. And I really like this film. It's made in France. If you get a chance, give it a try. It's Berger 400 Pancro. Beautiful, beautiful film. And it's not that terribly expensive. It's less expensive than Ilford and Kodak. I think it was like $1.25 a sheet versus Kodak and Ilford, which are closer to $2 a sheet. Highly recommend it. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're looking for 4x5, get yourself a Wista. I'll be back tomorrow. Oh, I have one more thing to say. The beauty of this camera and the color and the look of it is part of what makes it so that for me as a people photographer, it's what makes it so that people are drawn to it. It looks like what they think in their head is the color of an old camera. And that'll come in handy and important later at another talk. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, even with a cup of coffee a month, hit the Patreon, and I'll be back next week. We'll talk another piece of gear that's part of my repertoire of cameras that I use. As always, here's the good light.